I have the gift of gab, so I'm going to be watching. If I talk too long, just, make a sign and I'll stop. I'm so excited to be here. This is an incredible journey for me to become a part of the I Am Recovery family. I've known the staff, or at least many members of the staff, for a number of years, and we've always had a great deal of respect and love for each other. And so this has just kind of been, I feel, led by God in every step of the way, and I'm super excited about it, and I wonder where He's going to take us. So I'll start with just telling you a little bit about my professional background and then personal background, and tell you about why I do what I do. To start with, I've been a licensed substance use disorder counselor for 13 years. I've been in the field for 15 years. Prior to that, I did home health and hospice on an individual private basis, and I was doing very well at it. Made pretty good money. I was successful and enjoying it. And my mother, who at the time had her own residential treatment center, was shorthanded some weekend staff and asked if I'd fill in for her on the weekend. And I like to say I got addicted to Addicts in Recovery because I never left after that. So that's kind of how I got into it. I actually had no intention of going into the family business, but my parents both had alcohol and drug addiction problems, which began in my late childhood and throughout my adolescence. They went to treatment. My dad never relapsed. My mom relapsed 8 times. They both have more than 35 years clean and sober. So, I guess my plug for that one is whether you've relapsed or not, you can make it. And my parents are living proof of that. Eventually, my parents, after they finished their recovery, went back to school, and both of them became counselors. And this was back in the day when it wasn't required to have a degree to be a counselor. So they were kind of in that beginning phase of substance use disorder when it was just beginning, and helped with the professional organization and laws and things like that, lobbying for the, the word has left my mind, parity bill. Things like that to get mental health covered by insurance companies and things like that. And so they've had a pretty good hand in that. And so I kind of just jumped into that right in the middle of what they were doing. And my background is multiple different levels of treatment and different types of treatment. So I've done my practicum at the state mental hospital. I worked in residential treatment, I worked in sober living and veterans homes. I've done intensive outpatient and medication assisted treatment. So I've been able to see all the different levels and grab what I love from each one and putting those things into a program. And I think for me, interestingly enough, the most powerful tool that I have didn't come from school, and it didn't come from another treatment center. It came from in here. And that is my love for people, my respect for my higher power and for everyone else's higher power, and that every single person and individual is worth fighting for. And that's why I called Champion Recovery Champion, because we're going to be champions together and fight this battle. And I've learned that the families are extremely important in the recovery process, and sometimes it's hard to help the families understand that they have a role in it. And so that's been one of my emphasis in my career, and to help bring the families together and to offer support so that the families can be a more effective help and support for the patients. So with that being said, they've asked me to talk a little bit about my personal story. So I'll start with that, and I hope and pray that I can be honorable and respectful to each of my family members and those people in my history as I recount information. I'll tell you that when I was about 7 years old, my parents divorced, and I thought it was my fault because I had been doing something naughty, and my parents were fighting about what I was doing, and I walked in and I heard them say they were going to get a divorce, and I thought it was me that they were doing that for. And so that put a huge, and I don't think anybody realized it. I don't even think I realized it until years later. But essentially, my upbringing from that point on became very rocky. There were 6 kids in my family. All of us were born within a period of 7 years. So my siblings were my temporary parents while my dad was off doing his thing, and my mom was now working 2-3 jobs to help us to survive. And so we would feast or famine. Some days we were driving Cadillacs and doing real well, and other days we had holes in our jeans and had to borrow a car. And so it was up and down, and quite honestly, as I grew into my older ages, I hadn't had anybody there to model healthy relationships to me in my upbringing. So I kind of developed on my own in that regard. We moved, a little vulnerability here. I just turned 50 years old this month, and thank you. I've moved 54 times in my life. And to give you an idea, I've had 2 homes where I stayed in for about 5 years each. So you can see what my upbringing was like. So I didn't have a lot of consistent friends. I was really alone growing up. It was me and the television. And thank goodness they had shows like Little House on the Prairie and Gilligan's Island, right? So I'm aging myself there. But that was where I got a lot of my principles and values from, with a few exceptions in between. There were people in the community and people through church and through family that really stepped in and helped us. And I can be thankful until my dying day, and it won't be enough to thank my family, especially my siblings, because we were each other's best friends growing up. And although we fought a lot and we made a lot of messes, we did a lot of mischievous things together, but being teased and stuff by my siblings taught me to be resilient, and taught me how to fight and stand up for myself. And then all the times that we moved, it taught me to be my own person. And so I can say honestly that every difficulty that I've been through, even though it was very difficult, there were a lot of good things that came out of it. So my addiction became, I was a workaholic from the teenager years. At the age of 16, going to high school, I was working a full-time job. Going to school full-time, I had 4 AP classes, and I was a member of the debate team and the drama team. And I like to say I haven't slowed down since then. So I take occasional break for a vacation, but I've always got my phone on me, and I'm always trying to help someone somewhere. And I can't help it if I see somebody by the side of the road. I'm a sucker for that too. So I especially like empowered women. It took me a while to learn how to become empowered. And I had to learn to love myself. I had to learn to own my voice, and I had to learn how to say no, and not only no, but hell no. Sorry if that's on, but it was a hard thing for me to learn, and I think I'm still learning it. But essentially, watching my parents go through their addiction, my dad dropped his alcohol and cocaine addictions and picked up nicotine, chewing tobacco, and he developed stage 4 cancer and had an open heart surgery in the same year within a period of about 6 months. And so his health has been struggling ever since. Although he's stopped using all of the substances, he has at this point he had some lumps that developed in his neck, and they had to go in and remove them and do radiation and chemotherapy. The radiation killed a lot of his nerves and the soft tissue in his throat and neck, and basically he lost the ability to have sensation in a lot of his gums and teeth. And as a result of that, he got a dental infection, and he wasn't aware of it until it got bad. And once it got bad, he went on some really intensive antibiotics, IV antibiotics, and the oxygen chamber treatments and all kinds of stuff to try and get the infections gone. And basically, to put a long story short, they weren't able to stop the infection. And so literally his bones in his face and neck and jaw are deteriorating on a daily basis. He has a broken jaw as a result. So he's right near getting a feeding tube. And, the interesting thing is, as I've watched my parents fight their fight, and you'll have to, I'm not going to apologize for it, but if it's sensitive to you, I'll excuse you for that, but I might get a little sensitive here. But I've watched my parents suffer through a lot, and I've watched them save a lot of lives. And I couldn't be more honored and more proud. But I can tell you there were days when I didn't know my parents, and I didn't like my parents, and that my parents really scared me. And I'm sure my siblings could say the same. But today we have a fantastic relationship. I love them dearly. I call and talk to my parents regularly, and I'm hoping to go down and visit them this weekend. But they've set a family legacy in place. My siblings also helped my parents when they started their facilities. My mom had a residential and my dad had an outpatient. But my youngest brother is a therapist, and he's got this string of letters after his names, which I won't bore you with, but one of the best therapists I know. He's right up there with Jared. My other brother is the operations manager for their residential facility in Eagle Mountain. And so it's become a family legacy. I've got a nephew who's working with DCFS and all kinds of things, but I think our family has really decided, out of all the trauma and trial that we've had throughout our lives, that we want to give back what we've been given and then some. And I think over the years, I've realized, I can help patients, and I love to do the individual work, and I like to get right in there, and I like to say I fillet them open and pass them on to the therapist to finish it off. But I really am proud of the work that we've done as a family, and I think it's a thing that I feel very deeply about. Interestingly, last year I left a job that I'd had for almost 6 years, and I was very heartbroken, and I'm very loyal, so once I park my fanny somewhere, that's home. And so I hope you're ready to cement me in, because I'm not going anywhere. But essentially, I cashed in my retirement, sold all my tools, which is a big deal, and some extra furniture and stuff I had, and I'm all in. I put everything I had into the business, and it was hanging by a thread, but I wasn't giving up, and I knew that God wasn't going to give up either. And so I kept praying, and then I got a call from Jared, and so here I am. So I think we're going to be able to help each other out and continue this legacy and let it grow and expand. I'm at the point now where, as much as I enjoy working with the patients, I also enjoy teaching the professionals and the families, because I want it to helping one person or one family isn't enough. I'm building a tolerance for it, so to speak. And I just got to help. I just got to do it, and I love it. So one of the things, and I haven't talked to Jared about this, but I hope this is okay, but one of the things that I did at the old place that I was at, when people graduated or completed the program, they had a little goodbye group for them. And one gal was dancing and singing through the house all the time. And so for her graduation or commencement gift, I gave her a funny dance. Mine weren't as good as hers, but ever since then, everybody keeps going, "Where's my funny dance? Where's my funny dance?" So I do a funny dance, and I'll probably do one today, even though I don't know the people that might be commencing, just to give you a little love. But I get so excited for the success and for the recovery that happens, for the empowerment that's there and the healing. And I recognize that addicts in recovery are some of the most intelligent, most creative, most compassionate, and funny people to be around. And I absolutely delight in it. And so my funny dance is my expression of love and honor to you all, and for the hard journey that you do. And so that's kind of my new signature, I guess. I also like to read a spirit animal. And I didn't know I would have brought my spirit animal book, but those of you that are commencing today, if you want, I can give you a spirit animal. But I enjoy doing that as well. I just want you to know how much it means to me to see you succeed. And I'll fight like the Dickens to help you. And if there's something that I can do to bring it out of you, I will. Stand up on a chair, pull out the coloring book and crayons. We do make paper puppets. Read storybooks, build tents, funny dances, whatever it takes. And sometimes it just takes a lot of cold, hard tears. And but it's worth it. Every bit of it's worth it to help you to get better and to help your families to get stronger and healthier so that you can pass it on. So with that being said, I know I've got a few minutes left. I want to tell you a little bit about something else in my past that was difficult, but I think it gives me a lot of strength in some regards, and that is, as a teenager, I had some sexual abuse. And I didn't tell anyone for 11 years. I held it in. Well, when I got married, it was really difficult to be intimate with my husband because it traumatized me every time. So he finally said, you need to go get some therapy. So I went to a place, I won't name the place, but I went there, and apparently they have quite a few people that falsely report sexual abuse. And so they had to test me to see if it was genuine. And I think this was the most unethical approach ever, because I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any coping skills. I didn't have any connections. And the very first session, I walk in the door and they're putting me in a empty chair work with the perpetrator of abuse. And I cried so hard that I was literally going like that for 3 days, even while I slept. I never went back because it was too traumatizing. Why would I want to go back to that, right? So I did go back to another therapist, a different one, and got on some medications, which helped me really calm down so that I could do the work I needed to do. And over a period of a couple of years, that healing process really helped me a great deal. One of the things that happened, though, and I'm sure that many of you are finding this, that as I got healthier, I realized how many sick people I had around me. And I had to start making decisions about what to do about those relationships. And it was difficult, but that's where my divorce came in. So I've been divorced now 15 years, almost 16 years. And I've learned how to love myself. I know what loneliness feels like. I know what loneliness feels like more than most people do. And I realize that being lonely doesn't have a single thing to do with being alone. That what it has to do with is whether or not I love me. Because I can be in a crowded room full of loved ones and be just as lonely as I'll get out. And I can be all by myself and be absolutely fine. And so I had to figure out what was causing my loneliness. And the more I realized it was my own self-love, the more I realized I had to fight to love myself at first. It's a lot easier to love myself now, and in fact, I find myself delighting in it in a lot of different circumstances. One of my favorites, and I mentioned this in the group the other day, and I hoped they would invite me back, but afterward. But one of the things that I do, I've learned to laugh at myself and my quirks, and I just am who I am. I have Muppets on my shelf in my office, and I do funny dances, and sometimes I sing weird songs, and that's just who I am. But I work hard and I fight hard and I love a lot. And so one of the other things that I enjoy doing sometimes when I'm having a bad day is I'll walk past the bathroom mirror when I first get out of bed, and I'll ruffle my hair up really crazy, and I'm like, now that is a crazy do. And sometimes I'll take a picture and send it out to my kids and stuff like that. But it's usually that's just for me. That's something I do for me, and I've learned that that's okay. And then not only is it okay, but it's pretty fantastic because it gives me a smile and gets me going, and I learn how to appreciate my quirks and all the kinds of things. So as far as my future is concerned, I have worked with a lot of clinicians over the years. I've worked with a lot of staff in different levels of care and different facilities and educators and things like that. And I can truly and honestly say that Jared is one of my favorite people in the world, always has been. And I feel bad that we lost connection for a while, but I have the utmost respect for him. And we've done some really killer process groups together. So if you see us both walking into a room together, just so you know, gear up. But I very much intend to continue this work and to grow and expand and help as many people and families as we can. I feel like I'm 50 years old. My kids tell me I'm so old I'm dusty sometimes, but I still feel young and I got lots of energy in me. And so I'm just going to keep fighting the fight until I can't anymore, and then I'm going to hopefully chase around my grandkids and enjoy the sunshine. So I'll leave that with you, and just know that I want to be here for you. Absolutely. Whatever you need, don't hesitate to ask. I'm right here. And if I don't have an answer, I'll find out. I'll find it. I'll seek out the answer that you need. And I love that that's what Jared and his program does as well. So I think we're a good fit together. So I've got for you today. So, thank you.